Trials of a Royal Guard. By Ansel. Chapter 35. Welcome to Equestria. The Canterlot Palace was a beautiful place. Not just aesthetically but emotionally. It was full of positive memories and experiences for me. Being able to roam it again as one of its guards made me feel normal. I'd been feeling a lot more normal lately. With Crystal's love, Dr. Kitty's help, getting my job back, and not having nightmares, I was feeling great. Of course, the job situation had only changed within the last couple of days and I was still riding that excitement. Exploring the palace had become my break time activity. Not that the building had changed. I just liked being in it and looking around. There were all kinds of new, young guards, changes to their gear, and various ponies to walk by. As I trotted through Princess Celestia's wing, a pair of golden hooves reached out, grabbed me, and tugged me into an office. It wasn't just any office, however, but Princess Celestia's. I guess I hadn't been paying attention to where I'd been roaming. My pass was good for the entire palace. Sunny Day stared at me. "Silent Night," she said way too loudly right in my face. "Yes. Tell her," Sunny exclaimed before jabbing a hoof to her right. When I looked over, I found Princess Celestia sitting on a pillow, her four hooves crossed. What was this all about? Had I done something wrong I needed to confess for? I hadn't done anything wrong in a while. "Tell her what, Sunny?" "That I won." "What in Equestria?" "You won what?" Sunny poked my nose. "Our bet." Had Sunny finally broken down? She'd always been relatively level-headed. "We didn't have a bet." "I don't remember any bet at all." "No, you dolt. She and I had a bet about you. Now she's trying to squirm out of it." "Tell her that I won." "A bet? About me? What bet?" "I don't know," was all I said as it all came back. They had a bet about whether I'd rejoin the military or not. Princess Celestia cleared her throat. "Are you finished ranting? He isn't going to help you, and you didn't win our bet." Sunny let me go and threw her hooves up. "I did so. I bet you he'd be a guard again and he is. Look. Silent Night. Right here. In armor. Major. Sword. Helmet. Winner. Pay up." The princess shifted forwards, stood to her full height, and trotted over to the two of us. I settled into a bow as her alicorn aura washed over us. Sunny just glared, rising to her full height, which was laughably smaller. "Yes, little pony. We did bet." Princess Celestia poked Sunny with a hoof. "You bet he'd rejoin the military." "I bet that he would not." "He did neither." Sunny snorted. "What? Are you getting senile? Look. What part of Silent Night in armor are you missing here?" Princess Celestia lightly reached and set a hoof on my forehead. "I'm not missing anything. He looks very dashing in his dark armor with his new crest. What you're missing, as usual, are the details. Oh, this should be rich. Go on, squirm all you like, princess." The casualness between the two of them still made me uncomfortable, but whatever worked for them worked for me, I guess. Silent Night did not choose to re-enlist. He chose not to resign. "You see, your sweet, cute, teeny, tiny, little mate didn't process his paperwork so he never left the military. He is not a guard again. He was never not one and that, little pony, is why you do not win." Princess Celestia then grinned. Sunny's jaw dropped. She pointed at the princess and stammered, You, a technicality. Silent Night, tell her she is violating the spirit of the bet." I quietly inched back towards the office door. If I moved slowly enough, they wouldn't notice. Mares sensed motion. Unfortunately, my information wasn't always scientifically sound. Sunny grabbed me by the hoof. "Oh, no you don't. Tell her. Tell her I won." "Nuh-uh, I replied before tugging my hoof free. I took 3 more steps back, but Sunny grabbed my hoof again. This time with her magic. Mare up! You know she's cheating me out of victory here. We can't let the ruler of our kingdom be so unscrupulous. Now tell us what you think. Princess Celestia smiled down at me, a bit of amusement in her expression. Yes, Silent Knight, tell us what you think. Am I being as unscrupulous as your angry friend thinks? Dead. I was dead either way. This exact situation was the #1 killer of stallions in Equestria. That was, I'm told, based on Royal Guard statistics. My eyes flicked from one mare to the other. Which one would I prefer to be killed by? An angry partner or an all-powerful alicorn? Therapy. I'm late for therapy, I said as stallionly as possible as I wiggled free of Sunny's magic and backed up towards the door. As I turned to gallop away, that same door betrayed me and slammed shut under the power of both unicorn and alicorn magic. You must settle this situation, Silent Knight, else there shall be no peace in this office. Tell my underling that she is wrong, Princess Celestia ordered. Underling? How dare you? Silent Knight, tell this overgrown, string bean mare that she is not getting out of this. They both advanced on me. My rump found the door as I retreated the rest of the way. I wasn't part of this bet. You should have appointed an arbiter. Of course you're part of this bet. You are the bet. Now you're the arbiter, Sunny replied. I never agreed to that. Come now, Silent Knight, don't let her bully you. Stand up to Sunny. You of all ponies understand the rules, Princess Celestia said. I could feel sweat beading on my forehead under my helmet. This was it. There was no escape now. Technically, Princess Celestia was correct. If I went with the bet exactly as it had been stated, that was. I was not a guard again. Wait, a guard again. I declare you both winners. What? They cried in unison. Sunny, you specifically said that I would be a guard again, not just rejoin the military even though that is what you meant. Technically, I was transferred back from the army to the guard. I am, in fact, a guard guy ha. But you technically just meant the military and you know it. Now, Princess Celestia is also correct. I never left the military, so therefore I am not in the military again. I always was. Princess Celestia nodded. Precisely. So, you either both win or you both lose. Neither of you has made a compelling enough case to win fully. May I please go now? I have therapy or work or something. Something not here, and I'm pretty sure I outrank you, Sunny. Sunny snorted. As if. She then turned her gaze to the princess. How do you want to play this stretch? I am sure we can come to a compromise so that all parties are satisfied. The princess turned to me and then waved a hoof. You are free to go, Silent Knight. We thank you for your wise assistance. Eagerly, I bowed. Thank you, princess. Thank you. As quickly as I could, I opened the door and galloped out before they changed their minds. I got halfway down the hall before making a sharp left and coming to a sudden painful stop when I collided with a pair of house guards. What is the meaning of this? Princess Luna asked before her voice softened. Silent Knight. I looked up at her from where I was sprawled out on top of mountain stone but under some new pony. Yes, princess. Are you all right? It isn't like you to gallop about the palace casually. You'll scuff your armor and some pony might get hurt. Already hurt, Mountain grumbled. Princess Celestia and Sunny Day were holding me hostage, I explained while I rolled the unfamiliar house guard off me and slipped off Mountain so that I could help him up. Princess Luna's eyes narrowed. Is that so? Well, we were just on our way to see Princess Celestia. I'll set her straight. No. Please, I don't want to be a bother. I'm just going to go, anywhere but here. I won't gallop. I need to get to work. The princess levitated Mountain's helmet off the floor and onto his head. She then did the same for me but briefly paused. You've cut your mane. My hoof lifted to lightly run along the incredibly short mane. It was something I'd had done just the day before. The longer one seemed less mature somehow. Oh, yes. What do you think, princess? She smiled softly. I like it, but it makes you seem older. Perhaps it just matches reality now. That may be so. She dropped my helmet on my head. Very well. You look quite good in that armor. Come visit me sometime soon now that you're back. Yes, princess, I replied before stepping out of the way. Without another word, the princess and her escort went by me. Willowy Tempest and Moonlit Star followed in her stead and, just shortly behind them, Lieutenant Snow. She stopped and looked at me. House Guard armor, Major. Yes. That might be confusing for my ponies. I snorted. They're professionals and it is my right, Lieutenant. And so it is, sir. Good day. Good day, Lieutenant, I replied as I put on my grumpiest face. Confusing? Why? Probably because the old commander was running around in House Guard armor and outranked the current commander. That would have bothered me, too. I didn't say anything, though, so she simply turned and went on her way. It was time to get back to work or therapy. I had forgotten where I was going in all of the excitement and fear of mare-based destruction. Work was on the way to therapy. I'd check in there and then head on. Another battle survived by Major Knight, Mare Wrangler Extraordinaire. Radiant Orchid and I stood outside one of the large elevators that was destined to soon bring soldiers down from the airship docks above. It was the same one I'd arrived on when I'd returned to Equestria. Now, instead of being greeted, I'd be greeting. I wasn't alone, though, and this wasn't going to go the same way it had for me. Not exactly, anyway. Sir, are you sure the Colonel is okay with this? Orchid whispered to me. My ear flicked and I nodded. Yes, I'm sure. Minister Sombra made it quite clear that my input was encouraged. Orchid cleared her throat. Yes, sir, but don't you think this might undermine the program a little? We both looked to our right. Crystal Wishes, Dr. Kitty, and a few Flower Foundation counselors were getting prepared to hand out information and answer questions a mere couple meters away. We're offering every pony alternatives, I said. They in process, they sign up for the military program, and if they want extra help the Flower Foundation is there. I'm going to be impartial. Orchid nodded. Please ensure that you are. I turned and glared at her. Sir, she added with a squeak. I rumbled before turning back in the direction of the freight elevator. There were 4 in all, but this was the one I'd come down. This was the one where I'd start my new role helping other ponies. Far above us, the sound of metal squealing against metal drifted to us and I could see the bottom of the car starting to come down. Come along, warrant officer, we're about to get started. Orchid and I backed up to where we could get a good view of all 4 elevators. Each one was full of ponies. Far more than when I returned. They'd brought my company back as a test case. There was going to be more than a battalion today. When the elevators reached the ground, the gates were pulled up and the ponies poured out in good order. Their officers were keeping them in formation as they lined up in the yard. The looks on the faces of the soldiers were mixed. Some were happy, others relieved, and still others nervous. I could see that many of them had been treated for wounds. A subtle limp, a missing wing, and things of that nature. These were the ponies Equestria was receiving, the broken. Broken but not irreparable. They would be treated like I'd been treating my new house, a lot of work to be done but done passionately. Once the battalion was in formation, a colonel approached me. Radiant Orchid and I stood to attention. Welcome home, Colonel, I greeted. The unicorn mare took a soft breath and nodded. Thank you, Major. I'm not sure if this is real yet. It is, ma'am, but there is still work to be done. Unless you'd like to say a few words, I'll address the soldiers and get things moving." She shook her head. "I have nothing left to say, go ahead." In the same method that Orchid had demonstrated upon my return, I hopped up onto a box. "Soldiers of Equestria, allow me to be the first to welcome you home." Regardless of the individual feelings they had, the whole battalion erupted into cheers, tears, and stomping. It felt important to let them have that moment, so I waited patiently. Eventually, their officers and NCOs quieted them down, giving me the opportunity to push on. "I am Major Knight. I was once the commander of Princess Luna's house guard, but most of you probably know me as Dread Knight, commander of the Black Dragoons. Minister Sombra has assigned me to personally help you with your transition home. I've found that the process was not as easy as I expected. In fact, I struggled with it, am struggling with it. That is okay. There is no shame in facing the horrors you endured in war and feeling small. It takes a brave pony to ask for help, and I know you're the bravest in the world." I motioned to Radiant Orchid. "This is Senior Warrant Officer Orchid, your reintegration counselor. She is going to assist you in the process you'll follow today and the days that are coming. I ask that you be patient no matter how frustrating that can be. She and her staff are here to help. I promise you that." With that said, in addition to the program provided to you by the military and the kingdom, I want to make you aware of extra resources that are only a hoof step away. There is a civilian charity group known as the Flower Foundation that has been created to augment the work we do. Before I turn you over to Warrant Orchid, I want to let the founder and lead director of the foundation say a few words. "Mrs. Wishes." I hopped off the box, waited for Crystal to trot over, and gave her a hoof so she could climb up. Then I moved over to stand next to Orchid. "You're letting her give a speech?" Orchid whispered. "Yes, I am." "You said impartial." "I did. I made it clear that the foundation was an additional resource, not a replacement. Don't tell me you have an issue with this." Orchid kept her eyes forwards as she replied, "The guard is supposed to take care of its own, silent. And it will, Radiant. Guard wives, guard husbands, guard brothers, guard sisters. There will be better outcomes if we work together in harmony." She stood quietly for a moment, her eyes shifting a bit as if she was looking something over. Finally, she whispered, "I can't argue with that." "Good mare," I replied before turning my attention back up to my brilliant wife. Crystal Wishes was standing tall on the box. Taller than I'd ever stood in my life. She was speaking with conviction and passion. She'd started the Flower Foundation because she believed she could help every pony impacted by the war, and she was right. No pony had ever been turned away. "And so, I don't want you to think of us as a charity. You do not need charity. You are Equestria's soldiers. You need love, hope, understanding, and purpose. The Flower Foundation can provide you any tools you deem necessary to restoring your life to what it was before you left. We have worked with your spouses, families, and friends while you were gone to build a network across the whole kingdom. All you have to do is ask. Ask and we will give." "Thank you." I moved back to the box and helped Crystal down. In doing so, I caught her subtle perfume and couldn't help nuzzle her neck. The mare shivered and whispered, "Silent, we're in public." "Oh, right." I cleared my throat. "Warrant Orchid, let's get these ponies in and out fast and efficiently so that they can start seeing their loved ones." "Aye, sir," she called loudly before trotting down the line of the formation. "We'll start with Alpha Company first. Line up, 3 abreast." Orchid set to work in getting the ponies moving in the right direction. An entire battalion would take a lot longer to process than a single company. We'd planned for that, however, and had 3 different lines set up today. In addition to that, we'd set up several letter-writing stations where ponies could let their loved ones know they were home safe. We even had male ponies waiting to take them off immediately. It was a good distraction while standing in line. Beyond that, my job was easy. Walk up and down the formation, mingle with the soldiers, and let them know I cared about them and would listen to their concerns. That task was made even easier with the addition of my wife at my side. As we trotted down the line, it dawned on me that we were getting away from unfamiliar ponies to ones I'd personally fought beside. They were a lot of the specialists, including the siege unicorns. My eyes started flicking across the crowd, searching. Then I saw her. She was standing idly by herself. A shaggy grey unicorn. Her purple and white mane was hidden slightly beneath a campaign cloak. The large, heavy axe that she carried in battle was slung across her back, its head cased in a thick pouch to protect it from the elements. I slowly worked my way towards her, Crystal in tow. We shook hooves with various ponies on the way and exchanged pleasantries, but my eyes never strayed far from the mare. When we got close, our gazes met and then she turned hers to Crystal, the smallest hint of trepidation in it. We approached and I cleared my throat. Crystal wishes, I would like you to meet Warrant Grey Maelstrom. We fought side by side and saved each other a few times back and forth. Maelstrom looked at me and then back to Crystal. More than a few times, she said, keeping her words short. Crystal beamed and offered the mare a hoof. "And a pony that saved my husband is a friend of mine." The two shook and then Crystal and I started to walk to the next pony. As we did, I accidentally threw my wing out and flipped Maelstrom's cloak up, revealing her cutie mark. "Silent! Watch where you," Crystal cried before she saw the mark. The distinct wave of rainbow color. She turned in confusion to Maelstrom and looked her in the eyes. "Painted," she whispered. Grey Maelstrom sheepishly pulled her hood back, revealing several of the more noticeable scars she carried. "Hi!" Crystal didn't seem to see them, though. She just threw her forehooves around her friend and hugged tightly. "Oh, thank the princesses you're home." "You're home." The two embraced. Maelstrom looked over Crystal's head at me with a mock glare before poking her tongue out. I just smiled and shrugged. Now was better than later. When Vert said you volunteered, I was distraught. "I've missed you so much." Maelstrom patted my wife on the back. "I'm not good with goodbyes." "Sorry. I'm home now." "Welcome home, Painted," I said pointedly. "Thank you, Silent. Oh, one more thing, since you've revealed my true identity." Maelstrom gently pulled back from Crystal just enough to put some space between them. Then she deftly looped a hoof behind my mare's head, pulled her in, and kissed her. It wasn't too much more than an extended peck, but it gave Crystal a little time to flail. When they parted, she huffed. "Wah!" Maelstrom pointed at hoof at me. "Vert sent me a letter. Consider us even." I nodded. "Agreed." Crystal looked back and forth between the two of us and then started to giggle. "Oh, fine. I get it." She idly pushed Maelstrom, to no effect. "I'm so glad you're back. We need tea. Once you're done with all of this." "Okay? Please. I'd be happy to. Can I see my husband first?" My wife gasped and nodded. "Oh, of course. Actually, I'll go get him." Then she started to trot away. She didn't get far, though, as Maelstrom grabbed her by the tail. "Nope. You do your job, leave my job to me, okay?" Crystal's lips turned up in a pout but she nodded. All right. I just wanted to see his face. Tea after that, though." "Yes, ma'am," Maelstrom replied before shooing Crystal along. When my wife got back to my side, we started moving down the line a bit more and she whispered, "Did that happen in the war?" "You can ask her yourself when you have tea." Crystal huffed lightly. "Bah! Soldiers conspiring against me." "Fine. Come along, Major, we have a lot more ponies to see and information to give." Ma'am," I replied as I watched her go. My wife had faith she was going to change the world for the better. That was all good and well for her to believe it. I was different, though. I knew she would. Faith is for those with doubt. Author's note: an older silent knight with a haircut? Why not? And Thunder Goose. If you are enjoying this story, please consider taking a look at Crystal and Maya's website quillenblade.com for extra content such as mini stories, an Ask Us form to submit questions, responses to said questions, and special rewards for the awesome folks who support our Patreon. End author's note.